Everyone from the Fed who has been speaking have been hinting quite strongly at a rate hike. And if they don't follow through, they will lose credibility. Jennifer Lee, BMO. Leaked documents showed EU leaders will unite in talks and to ensure the UK loses more than it gains from leaving the EU bloc. What does this mean for Theresa May's strategy and how will it affect the sterling?
I don't think it should affect her strategy too much. I mean, without knowing what her strategy is, I can't see why this would be a shock to anybody. They're wanting to set the example, with the UK. In my opinion, that they want to set an example with using the UK to make it more difficult, or make potentially other anti-EU parties in other countries. It will make them think twice about leaving. So I think everyone's going to be using the Brexit as a litmus test almost. So I would hope that she has Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C in case she is going to face tough negotiations, which is probably what is going to happen over the next couple of years, and she has to be prepared to walk, I think, and basically to obtain the best deal that she can for Britain. Now, in terms of sterling, I think we have it weakening. We actually have differing views throughout our organization, but we see the pound weakening further as the year progresses. Right now, it's at just over 121. We see it falling as low as perhaps even 115 or so as the year progresses. But it's going to be a very volatile year, not only for financial markets in the UK, but particularly so for the pound, because there will be reaction to every single comment that's made out there, and there will be many from differing officials and what their views are going to be.
The Dutch populist Wilder has gathered support during his campaign, but the chances of him being a part of the possible coalition are slim. But will his stance on immigration be resembled in the next government?
I think a lot of that is going to depend on how many seats he gets. I don't think anyone is expecting him to win a majority by any measure. And plus, it's interesting that all the other parties have ruled out working with Mr. Wilders. So again, depending on how many seats he gets, if he gets more than expected, like over 20, if he manages to maintain, for example, the number 3 spot, as an example, I think that the more seats that he wins, I think the more chances that some of his views, maybe not to that extreme, will be reflected in the new coalition government. We're sort of seeing that, around the world, or around in Europe. Certainly here in North America as well. You can't completely ignore what the opposition party was running for, just given that they did get a lot of support from the population. So you can't completely ignore that. So I think they're going to have to address some of these views, perhaps not to such an extreme, but they're going to have to do something, or at least allude to it and make an attempt to satisfy some of those voters that voted for him.
The Fed have dropped plenty of subtle hints to a rate hike this month, but will they raise rates?
I think so. I think for the first time, it's everyone has been, the entire market is, it's almost like you're pricing in it's almost a full certainty now. Of course, qualifying that was by saying that there's nothing is ever 100% certain, but I think we're as close as we're going to get to a rate hike next week, next Wednesday. This morning's jobs report was handily beat expectations. The details were quite strong. Further increase in average hourly earnings and wages, which is very important for consumer spending. You saw the jobless rate tick lower to 4.7%. All the different measures of the jobless rate, from the basic one to the U6, everything dropped to at least an 8 or 9 year low. So they're all pointing in the same direction. The participation rate ticked up. The employment to population ratio ticked up. Almost every industry was hiring. So it was basically across the board strength. And given that, in addition to all the strong data that we've seen over the past couple of months or so, and definitely because of all the Fed speakers that we've heard from, ranging from the big cheese herself, Fed Chair Yellen, to her number two or her number two and number three, Vice Chair Fisher, New York Fed President Dudley, the ultra dove Fed Governor Brainard. Everyone has been pointing. Everyone that has been speaking has been hinting quite strongly at a rate hike next week, and I think if they don't follow through, the credibility will definitely be at stake.
Well, thank you, Jennifer, for helping us wrap up this week's biggest stories, and thank you at home for clicking back. I'm Kaz Kahil. Goodbye for now.